Okay, I'm clicking. Okay. It's saying live, but there's a black screen.
I don't see the stream
Oh, there we go. Now it's
on
popping up. I
YouTube
think
just
we're
yet.
live on YouTube now.
We are live on YouTube right now. I
Okay.
can see
Oh,
it.
okay, we're live. Hello. Um, okay. We're doing
This
this.
should be it. We should be communicating to the people that are
There we
logging.
go.
Hey, it says 10K subs when I'm looking at your thing.
Okay, we'll check. We'll check my creator studio because sometimes they'll say that, but it's not actually. Sports gamer, yo.
How's it going, everyone?
Hello, hello, people. Okay, I'm at 10K subs.
Got to make sure to like the stream. 10K sub hype? That's worth some likes. Come on,
Let's
guys. How's
go.
everyone doing?
Taylor, what's up? Colt, Jesse, Nevin, sports gamer. All right, all right. We have returned with a stream. This could be fun or very crazy.
Oh, it's gonna be both, right? Because everyone's in a bad mood, but everyone wants to talk about the bad mood that they're in when it comes to the Leafs.
Yes, very true. We'll wait till we get some more people in here. I think it says I don't know. I don't even know. The stream is usually behind in terms of the back end. It doesn't tell me how many people are here. We
Hey, bro.
actually had a podcast before. Maybe that's something we get back to. Who knows?
Maybe. It's a lot. It's a lot of work putting together podcasts and stuff like that, like scheduling and whatnot. But they are a hell of a lot of fun, especially when they're with Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, how? Listen, this is the only other guy I could do a Leafs podcast with. Man, we have to. We have to. This is the guy to do it with for sure. But we also did a Devils podcast. Do you remember that?
That was a mess. we should not have gotten into that venture.
Oh, that was crazy. Oh boy. Okay, I'm just gonna check the number on my phone. I think it says 49 or something like that. I know this was okay. Why is the thumbnail still Taylor Hall?
Oh boy. You really want to get people riled up coming into the stream? Just put
It's
Taylor Hall as the thumbnail.
I think it was yeah, this is yeah, that wasn't meant to be the thumbnail. But anyways, we're going with it.
We're going with it for now.
Oh boy, that's a lot of clickbait. Man, we didn't really plan this, but I know it's a Monday night and people are probably eating, but listen, even if there's 5 people in here, we're still going to talk about the Leafs. So, yeah, I'd love to know what people are thinking so far in terms of what's going on in the off season, the very early parts of the off season, because boy oh boy has it already been a little ridiculous.
It's been interesting. There's been a lot of confusion with what's going on right now with the Leafs. A lot of people are kind of unsure what to think with the recent moves. And I know you've said that in your videos. I've said that in my videos. The reality of it is that the Leafs are always playing chess against themselves. Is what it seems like the last couple of years.
Yep.
They're their own worst enemy, and that they're the only people that are going to get in front of themselves are the Leafs. So with the expansion draft on Wednesday, nobody really knows. Nobody really knows
Yeah.
what's going to happen with that.
I'm not too thrilled about their expansion draft list, but at the same time I understand it. But I have a little bit of a theory that maybe I'm galaxy braining too much.
What's your theory? There's no theory when we're streaming talking Leafs on a Monday night that is too galaxy brainy.
Okay, so and I just said this in my video I posted like 2 hours ago. The price that Vegas was making people pay to not take a player was very high, right? So, like a first round pick depending on the salary, or a second or a third or a combination of picks, right? So Seattle has to be doing the same thing, especially during this period of time where the world is just going crazy, right? Of course, the salary cap is very tough on a lot of teams. So in the Leafs case, with Kerfoot, if the Leafs were like, listen, we don't want you to take Kerfoot, even though it's been widely known that you're interested in him, the price would probably be pretty significant, correct?
It would be. It would be, probably, yeah.
So let's just say, hypothetically, it's like a second and a fifth or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Leafs then went to Pittsburgh and acquired Jared McCann for Hallander and a seventh. So basically what the Leafs are doing is they're paying Hallander and a seventh so that way they don't lose somebody of significance. Like they're losing McCann or Kerfoot, but they're not paying a second and whatever else or possibly more. They're paying the price of a seventh and a depth prospect. They're not paying a high price to lose somebody or to protect somebody like that.
It could definitely be it, right? And I have my own theory. Something that I missed in my video that I wish I would have said is that the Leafs didn't have to let Seattle poach Dave Haxtell.
Right.
Right? He was still under contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs did the right thing professionally by not holding him back and allowing him to be a head coach again. But they did Seattle a favor already. And I wondered if maybe that's something that sort of worked into the considerations of things. I mean, they did give them their head coach, right?
True.
They allowed him to go there and do that. So maybe they're a little bit more lenient when it comes to the Leafs in the face of those things. But that is wishful thinking. It is wishful thinking that anyone would be going easy on the Leafs in any regards.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody wants to go easy on the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the other thing. Like, if you have a choice between McCann and Kerfoot, I don't care what anybody says. I think Jared McCann is already a Seattle Kraken. I don't think that they're taking Kerfoot. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that would think otherwise, but McCann's cheaper. He scored more. He was more efficient last season. He can play the center position and the wing just like Kerfoot. Like, I mean, Kerfoot showed up in the playoffs, but if you're gonna go by just, the guy just put up more points. I mean, I don't know if that's just gonna give them a reason. He's cheaper and he's younger. Like, I just think McCann's gone.
He is cheaper and he is younger. Or, sorry, he is younger, but he's not cheaper.
Well, he's cheaper in terms of a cap hit.
In terms of the cap hit, but after Kerfoot's bonuses are paid out, he's only owed $750K for the next of rest for the rest of next season.
Yeah,
there is value in that, and a lot of people are kind of saying if you're looking at the protection lists, the number of centers that are available, it's kind of thin. And if you're looking at Jared McCann, yes, he can play center, but everyone that's talked about him coming out of Pittsburgh, from the Pittsburgh side of things, has said he can play center, but they've liked him.
Oh boy.
It's sort of in that same boat, but I think he's played a bigger role at center, and he's played a different role than what Jared McCann has.
Right. We just had a little bit of a hiccup in the stream there, I think, but I think you got your point out. I think there was just a little bit of a blimp there where it was freezing, or that was just on my end. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are asking why the Leafs didn't go 7-3-1 in terms of who they protected. Now, I was on board for 7-3-1 after they traded for McCann, but
so was I.
But if you do look at Justin Hall, the Leafs, here's the thing, the Leafs still don't have to keep Justin Hall. They can still make a trade. And again, I wouldn't personally, just because I want the Leafs, if they can acquire another defenseman to maybe play higher in the lineup than Hall, and then have Hall as a third pairing guy, that's still a very big possibility. But like, this is the first offseason in a while where I'm like, I want the Leafs to spend as much as they can on forwards, honestly. I don't know.
Their defense was much improved last season, and that's another thing why I'm sort of thinking, like, okay, they improved their defense, right?
Yeah.
And Dave Haxtell was the coach of that defense, right?
Yeah.
So why would the Toronto Maple Leafs, I understand professionally not holding him back, letting him go be a head coach, but at the same time, this is the best that their defense has been in a long time, personnel-wise and performance-wise on the ice. why would they just let him walk over there for nothing if they weren't maybe getting a little bit of leniency when it was coming to Seattle? They didn't
Um,
have they didn't have to do that.
well, the thing is like I would believe in that, but the problem is that like it's been widely reported that Seattle has had their eyes on Kerfoot pretty much the entire time. So you would imagine it's going to be Kerfoot or McCann. Like if there was any word of that kind of being something, then I mean that would probably be something that's been reported. But I mean, I agree with you. I think that that's a strong possibility. But I feel like there would have already been some sort of talk about that because it's just been widely reported that it's just a decision between McCann and Kerfoot at this point. Like they were already considering taking McCann in Pittsburgh. They were already considering taking Kerfoot in Toronto. You can only have one now. So either one of them is gone. I mean, it would be cool if the Leafs could be like, hey, we gave you Hackstall. Here's another like 4th round pick and like another prospect, and you're taking Dermott. You know what I mean?
But also you could look at it at the sense of, why didn't they go 7-3-1? Maybe if they're talking to Seattle and they do protect the 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie, then Seattle's looking at Justin Hall or Travis Dermott, and they're looking at the forwards that Toronto has, and they say, okay, well, we really don't want Justin Hall. We really don't want Travis Dermott. But if you do that between Dermott and Hall, we're taking Justin Hall. And then Kyle Dubas wants to keep Justin Hall, so he says, okay, how about if we go 4-4-1 and we protect Hall and we leave you Kerfoot exposed, you just take Kerfoot. Because that could be a rationale, right? Because we don't know what kind of talks those 2 GMs, Ron Francis and Kyle Dubas, have had between one another.
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily that they've left McCann exposed. They have to do that under that format.
Yeah, the thing is with me though is like I was excited because I'm like, oh damn, we should keep both McCann and Kerfoot. This is the type of player that is a cheap asset that actually put up points last season. Like he played well enough to be a top 6 player. There was a lot of people on my ass in the comments saying he's not a top 6 player. Guys, look at his point totals.
I would say he's not a top 6 center.
No, he's a winger.
But he is a top 6 winger.
Yeah, and what do we need? Wingers.
Top 6 wingers. Cheap top 6 wingers.
So why are we like? Listen, I've already made up my mind. McCann's gone. In my head, McCann's not even a Leaf anymore. Like he was barely a Leaf. So, I mean, like I just don't see how they don't take this player. I think that McCann's a guy that's still only 25. Kerfoot's young too, but I just feel like he's got an opportunity to take another step. And with Seattle, you can't tell me he wouldn't get a ton of time to play. Like, he'll play with some good hockey players. Like, he's going to play with some good players over there. There's a lot of guys left exposed. It's the same thing as Vegas. They've got something to prove. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They're going to want to show their teams, hey, listen, you missed out on us. We're going to go play over there, and we're going to put up as many points as we can. And that's what Vegas did. They got a lot of island of misfit toys, and it worked.
See, but in my mind, I don't think that Seattle team wants either Justin Hall or Travis Dermott. So I think it comes down to, like what I said before, with that 7-3-1 format and that 4-4-1 format. I think that Seattle prefers to get a forward from the Leafs. So they just say, okay, we'll leave Kerfoot exposed. You take him. Don't worry about taking a defenseman from us.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of defensemen out there. That's one thing that a lot of people aren't looking at, is that there are a lot of other defensemen that are available, and they only can take 8 or 9 of them or something like that. And if you're taking 8 or 9 defensemen in the entirety of the NHL, is Justin Hall or Travis Dermott one of those 8 or 9?
Yeah, no.
Probably not. Probably not.
There's a couple comments in here that are a little crazy. As much as I like Nylander, why not give them Nylander and get a first round from them?
Oh, boy. I don't even read those comments anymore.
No, Nylander's staying, and I mean, if you watch the playoffs, Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner were too busy combing their hair, so I think we should keep Nylander in the lineup. Hall over Hallander, and then there's people saying can't believe they protected Hall over McCann and Kerfoot. I mean, it's kind of a thing where it's a pick and choose thing. They're all good assets, but I guess I can see both sides. There's a big comment here regarding Leafs defense. You guys are way off base. Leafs current corp is not big, strong, and durable enough to last 20, 30 playoff games. Leaf priority is two big, strong top four defensemen. If you watch the series, the Leafs blue line was far from the problem. The Leafs couldn't score.
Nope, they could not score, and this time around they were getting good goaltending as well. They wasted. They blew it, but I don't know. To me, I'm not really interested in talking about the playoffs. I think the playoffs have been talked about to death, and we know that everyone wants there to be a big change, but we already know that they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. No matter how much merit conversations like that have, or no matter how much merit or how much it makes sense to maybe do that, they're not at that stage yet.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. But just going back to the blue line there, I think that it's not a bad thing to go out there to look for another top four guy. But Muzzin and Brody were two of the MVPs of the Leafs this season. Like TJ Brody made a case from being legitimately the MVP. Games 5, 6, and 7. Campbell 892 save percentage. Price 945. Now
the team played like crap in front of him.
Yeah, guys. Here's the thing. You also have to take this into account. What were the shots on goal in those games? Like, honestly, like I don't even know. Like, I really don't. I have no idea because
the Leafs played all of maybe 20 minutes in those 3 games.
Yeah, no, the Leafs, like, you guys got to remember, Jack Campbell's numbers at the end of that postseason were good. They were very good. Were they not better than Price?
They were not as good as Price. I'd say Price faced more quality scoring chances than Jack Campbell did, but they were right in line. He was not the problem.
Yeah, like you have to understand the Leafs forwards, like besides the Nylander, Kerfoot, Galchenyuk line, and then obviously Spezza, were literally garbage. Like, the team sucked. I'm sorry. Mikheyev and Engvall, if you can upgrade on both of those guys, I don't care if they never play a game again in the NHL. Like, I could care less.
No, okay, this is an interesting conversation because I see a lot of people saying to trade Engvall.
No, put him in the minors.
Yeah, you can just put him in the minors. You don't have to trade him. You can just start the season with him in the minors, and I don't think anyone claims him making $1.25 million against the salary cap. So, I mean, if you want to start, Andrew, maybe you said that maybe that they should go out there and get another top 4 defenseman. Do we want to look at some defensemen?
Yeah, we definitely can. But I just want to say again, I like Mikheyev before people start freaking out just because he has a soup endorsement and everybody likes him. When a guy goes on a breakaway, the goalie could close his eyes and the puck is not going to go in. Mikheyev cannot score. He cannot finish. So he needs to learn how to finish.
The one thing that I will say about Ilya Mikheyev, we were saying, maybe not to the same degree, but we were saying a lot of the same things about Zach Hyman in his first couple of seasons that we're saying about Ilya Mikheyev right now.
But he brought way more to the table.
A ton of scoring chances.
But, like, are you noticing Mikheyev as much as you notice Hyman in a game?
In his first couple of seasons, I think people forget how much of an painstakingly eyesore Zach Hyman was on that first line. Like, there was legitimate debates every other game. Why is Zach Hyman playing on the top line? Why is Zach Hyman playing on the top line? And then a couple of seasons later, after he kept getting those opportunities, he figured it out, and now everyone can't live without him.
Yeah, but the thing is Mikheyev was also playing with really talented players as well. But, like, he wasn't doing anything remotely close to Zach Hyman.
I'm not saying that Mikheyev will find that scoring touch, but
I like Mikheyev.
The opportunity is there. Like, Hyman found just a whole new level to his game to be better in tight in front of the net. And I don't think that Hyman has the off the rush skills that a guy like Mikheyev does. If he just learns to just look, man, like, if he looks behind him on those breakaways, everyone else is so far behind him. He can slow down a little bit. If he learns that he can slow down a little bit and take his time, I think that he will figure it out. He's young enough. I'm not betting on it. I'm not banking on it, but that is a player that I would want to have on the team.
Well, to me, one of those guys can't be in the lineup. I'm sorry. One of those guys can't be in the lineup. You need to find a better way to allocate over $1 million to somebody else. Because until they prove that they have another skill on top of just playing with some speed, like Engvall showed some promise to me throughout the season. There was times where Engvall looked like he didn't know what sport he was playing. Same thing with Mikheyev, the both of them. So it's just a toss up at this point. Who do you want in the lineup? Because I would rather just take one of them out of the lineup. I like, you bring in Robertson. Who's better at this point? Do you think Robertson's better than both those guys?
More than likely, yeah, but I would say that they're different players.
Okay, well, but who's better?
Robertson is.
Okay, well then there you go. So one of them has to go. Robertson replaces one of them easily. So the problem with the Maple Leafs is sure, you can have Mikheyev and Engvall on that fourth line, but you need to give more money to guys that actually can score. So if you're going to go out there and you're going to sign a better free agent for that top six, you need that extra $1 million or that extra $400,000 or $500,000.
So do you want to start filling in then this roster, and then after we can look at some defensemen or some other forwards?
Sure. Let's just first of all, we'll move Dermott over because that's probably likely what will happen. We'll bring Robertson up here. Okay, I guess we'll move Spezza over. This is likely what it looks like before the expansion draft. Now, I don't think that there's really anybody else here except for Liljegren that would compete for a spot. Maybe Joey Anderson, but I doubt it.
Well, they're more than likely going to have Liljegren in the NHL next season. And then on days where he doesn't play, they send him down and they get a little bit of cap relief with that.
So are you saying that we should have him as a scratch, or should we put him down with the Marlies?
No, we'll play him as a scratch with the Leafs. And then on days where he's not playing because he's still on his ELC, they can send him down and they can save the money on the cap that way.
Okay, so basically before anything's made, like any moves are made, this is what the Leafs lineup looks like.
$4.7 million in the corner there. You need a backup goalie and you need 2 more top 6 forwards in mine. So like, well, you're losing one of Kerfoot and McCann, so I guess that much comes off.
Yeah, it's gonna be McCann. So you're gonna lose that. So 7.6. So it's basically the same team, but adding Nick Robertson in here. So this left side is like basically the worst in the NHL. What I would do is I would start Engvall in the minors because you can definitely find someone better than him, and that about $1.1 million is going to help you find that somebody better. So 8.8 for 2 forwards and a backup. Okay, that's doable. Okay.
To me, that is doable. Yeah.
Bear Tosser has completed the task. Games 5, 6, and 7. Leafs 109 shots. Habs 83. So right away, that shows you Price's save percentage will obviously be higher with more shots on goal. So right away, that just proves that. I mean, Campbell still needs to stop more pucks, but I mean, the save percentage goes up when you have much more shots on goal.
Are we blaming him for the game 5 and 6 overtime goals?
No, I'm not. Those two goals were both blunders by the Leafs.
Yeah.
So the first name that's in the chat here is Blake Coleman that I'm seeing.
You see the rumors being tossed around the Barclay Goodrow is going to get a 6-year deal for over $3.5 million.
Yeah, so Blake Coleman's getting like $6 million.
Well, I mean, if I'm him, there's players that are like him, right? Gabriel Landeskog is that top tier player. Zach Hyman is that second tier player, and I would put Blake Coleman right in that tier with Hyman, right? So if Hyman's going to get 5.5 or 6 mil, if I'm Blake Coleman, why don't I ask for the same?
Yeah. So that's a problem.
I don't necessarily think that it's Coleman.
Somebody said, why don't we put Kerfoot as a second line winger and find a new shutdown center worth like $2 million? That's a very good possibility.
Yeah, it could be a possibility because I mean, like I've said on my channel multiple times, I was throughout the entire season, they shoehorned Kerfoot in as that shutdown third centerman all season long, and it was not working. And I think that Sheldon Keefe all but admitted that um, when I think it was a game against Montreal, maybe about 20 games into the season or so, they moved Kerfoot up to play with Tavares and Nylander like he did all of his first season with the Leafs, basically. And Sheldon Keefe was asked, "Is this going to be a permanent thing?" And he right away just said, "Nope." And I don't think that's even because he liked Kerfoot or he doesn't like Kerfoot playing in the top six. It's because he has no one else to play that shutdown center role.
Right. Casey Zizekas is a good name. Um, okay, so people, but Nylander at 6.9 is overpaid. No, I don't think so. Not for what he just did in the playoffs. Clearly, we need him at $6.9 million. But a lot of people call me nuts for saying Bertuzzi was an option before there was even rumors about it. And I'd like
I
to
didn't believe it
say,
either. I didn't believe it either. That is total vindication. That is total vindication on your part.
yes, I got one. I think I think that he'd be a good option, but hear me out. Ready for my crazy, ridiculous, probably won't happen hot take?
What is it, Andrew? Hit us with it.
Okay, so Seattle, are they going to be competitive this year? I don't know.
I
Okay,
think so.
okay. Bear Tosser said he was being sarcastic with the Nylander contract. Okay, I agree with you. Um, okay, so Seattle's probably not going to be that competitive. I don't think they're going to have the same team as Vegas did, right?
Okay.
Again, just a quick little a guess. Um, what happens if they take Tarasenko and Domi, right? Which is what a lot of people think they'll do from
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis and Columbus. What happens if the Leafs call about one of those guys?
I do not want Vladimir Tarasenko in his two, maybe three shoulder surgeries.
But they're gonna no. I'm not saying it has to be Tarasenko, but instantly you're asking them to eat salary, right? So, are you interested in Max Domi at all? Does he bring
I think I would be. I mean, I'd be interested in Max Domi for the same reasons that I would be in Tyler Bertuzzi. And both players, I guess Max Domi's not as good as Tyler Bertuzzi, but then you're not necessarily worrying about that back injury. Domi just coming off of a down season in Columbus. I don't think that Columbus um, fit for him was really there. I don't think that the same way Line had a really bad year, Domi had a really bad year there too.
right? So we gotta see what his contract's looking like, right? So he's at 5.3. So that there's only 1 year left on this contract. So you could look at Seattle and be like, eat half of that contract. Like,
They could, but I think you. Oh, geez, is he making $6 million in total money this year? Um,
dude, the Leafs don't care about that.
no, they don't. But if you're asking for salary retained, I think Seattle asks for a lot um, in that case.
So, okay, a lot of people are saying I'll pass on Domi's cap. We're definitely would be saying that his salary would be chopped. We're not saying he's going to come in at a $5.3 million cap hit. Um I just think that he's an option.
Yeah,
Like
it's one option that people can consider. There's a lot of other names you can throw into the hat as well.
so I okay, so for the people in the chat, again, this is much like my actual videos that I post. You're saying no to every single person. So tell me who you guys think is an option. I want to see the names in the chat of you guys who you guys think are an option for the Maple Leafs. Look at this roster right now and tell me, give me names of who the Leafs should either trade for or sign. I want to see because okay, Randy, you're saying Bertuzzi is so overrated by all the Ontario boys. Terrible back. Injuries do not make him overrated. He had one injury and that's it. It's a back injury. It's pretty serious, but it's one injury. That doesn't make him overrated. It means it makes him injured.
See, the debate between trading for a forward and signing one of the ones available in free agency is you have to be able to weigh the cap hit versus what's it going to cost to acquire that player. And I think if you're trading for a player, it needs to be someone who's on a really good contract. Is why I don't really necessarily think the Domi is a fit, and I think that that trade would be too expensive if you're asking them to retain
Yeah.
on it. I think we're looking for more Jared McCanns, which is I think why everyone is really upset that they could potentially lose him for nothing. So if you're trading for a forward, I think you're looking for more Jared McCanns, and if you're signing a forward, I would expect to pay a little bit of a higher cap hit for that forward, but you're not giving up the assets that you would have to give in trading for one.
That's very true. Now, another report, and that somebody brought it up, Galchenyuk. Galchenyuk apparently wants to stay in Toronto because he likes the way that he was treated. Now, oh, okay. Wow. Thank you for the $70 donation. That is quite the nice donation. Love both your content, guys. You both do an amazing job, and I always look forward to your opinions. Cheers from St. Catharines. Thank you so much.
Definitely cheers to you.
Thank you.
Definitely cheers to you.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. Now, guys, we greatly appreciate the donations. You definitely don't have to do that, but we thank you very much for that as well. Definitely helps. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Shout out to M&H Crush. Thank you.
So with the build that we're doing right now, because I'm seeing some people saying that do this as a side deal, they're going to take Kerfoot, they're going to take Kerfoot. Why don't we do two? One with them taking Kerfoot, and then one with them taking McCann. So we're already doing the one with them taking McCann, and then we'll do the other one afterwards.
Okay, yeah,
like,
I mean,
what the team can kind of look like.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with you. But a lot of people are saying Coleman, Bertuzzi, Garland, Raquel. I'm seeing Dvorak. Guys, Marner's not getting traded, so we'll get off of that. Let's go to Arizona, okay?
Conor Garland would cost a lot in a trade. He's a smaller forward, so instantly a lot of people are going to discount him. But he is, for all the reasons that you would love Jared McCann, you would love Conor Garland even more.
Yeah,
you
no.
would love him even more. He is awesome off the rush, and so is Jared McCann. And that's something that the Leafs have kind of been lacking the last couple of seasons, is that they've traded away guys who have been really good off the rush. Guys like Nazem Kadri, guys like Andreas Janssen, guys like Kasperi Kapanen, and guys like Connor Brown. They've lost a lot of that speed. So that's why a lot of people were so excited that they finally acquired a guy who's got speed off the rush, because that allows you to generate offense in a different way. And
Right.
if you're looking at the way that the Leafs generate offense, they do a lot of it in zone. And what we saw in that Montreal series is that the Montreal bigger defenders were able to get in those passing lanes and really disrupt a lot of those things. And they did not have enough off the rush to beat those bigger, slower defenders. So they need players who are good off the rush. So you may be discounting a smaller forward, but someone who can score off the rush, I think, would make the Toronto Maple Leafs' offense more versatile.
I'd love Conor Garland. I think that he's a great hockey player, but I just don't think the acquisition price is going to meet up with what the Leafs can offer, honestly.
See, but I think the fact that Arizona doesn't want to pay him bodes well for someone who will pay him and pay Arizona at the same time. So obviously they're not giving him away.
So what does that trade look like then? Let's say we're trying to acquire Conor Garland. What does that trade look like?
I don't trade Timothy Liljegren because he's very close to being NHL ready, and the Leafs have very few close to NHL ready prospects. I would say that the list of guys who were hopeful to maybe play NHL games next year for them, there was maybe three guys, and they traded one of them in Philip Hallander. Liljegren, Hallander, Joey Anderson. That's it. They don't have very many NHL ready guys.
So then the deal doesn't happen, because Liljegren is the only guy that makes sense in that trade.
See, but if you're trading a guy like Amirov, I think that they like that. I think that they would covet that.
I mean, I don't know. That's tough. Amirov, he seems like he's going to be a real good hockey player, but Garland's
But
already here.
maybe you can convince a team like the Coyotes, who don't have a lot of money and who don't have a lot of prospects and who have a bit more draft picks now, but still not very many of them, to take more of a volume trade than a quantity trade more than a quality trade. So maybe you can give up two or three B level prospects instead of one better prospect, and maybe they would covet that for those reasons.
Okay, so where does that start for you? Are you starting with Amirov, or are you starting with a guy like Abramov?
You can maybe start with a guy like Abramov. The Leafs do have a lot of B level prospects, especially on defense in guys like Mikko Kokkonen, Topi Naimela, Mikhail Abramov being another one, Nick Abruzzi, who was brought up earlier in the chat. They have a lot of those B minus guys.
Okay. So should we try to, I guess not try, but I guess acquire him and put him on here? Do you think that that would be something that makes sense? I mean, the
I
chat
mean,
keeps saying him, but
they've been connected. They've been connected to him through rumors in and around the trade deadline. They've been connected to him in and around um, right now as one of the few teams that have called on him. It could definitely be a possibility, and they've also said that they would like to acquire two forwards via trade, two, and they've acquired one, but we don't know if they're keeping them or not.
okay. So let's just for a placeholder, should we just put Mac Hollowell in there as well? Like, because some of the other guys you want to trade aren't even here. So,
I think we can just say for our sakes, for our purposes here, two B level prospects and maybe a pick on top of that, a second, maybe even if it's a first. You got to consider a guy like Conor Garland is 25 years old right now, and he's 2 years away from being an unrestricted free agent. So they would have team control over this player for the next couple of seasons. But after that, he would be getting a little bit more expensive. So he's not necessarily like acquiring an older player, let's say, or a guy
okay.
like Tyler Bertuzzi, who I think is older and would be a UFA next season.
So, are we just going to say Abramov, Anderson, and a second round pick for Conor Garland? Is that even, like, would that even make sense?
I don't think that those names get it done. I don't think Joey Anderson's worth very much in a trade, but Mikhail Abramov, Roni Irvonen, Topi Naimela, Mikko Kokkonen, Rodion Amirov, those are all prospects that I would say have value. And if you're including two of those guys, maybe a pick on top of it, maybe a little bit less if Amirov is in that deal, I think that's at least interesting. I don't know if that's enough at that point, but it's at least enough of a package to get teams interested.
All right, let's put Amirov in there. Let's do this. Amirov, Abramov in a second, just so that way it seems like there's at least value going the other way just to get him into the lineup. Now, after you make a move like that, to me, obviously you got to sign him now. So what is that contract even going to look like?
Well, like I said, I believe he has 2 years before he's a unrestricted free agent. So this season upcoming and one more. So if it's a 2-year deal, you're not buying any UFA years. So if it's just a 2-year deal, it's going to be cheaper. If it's a 3-year deal, you're buying one UFA year. So that deal is going to be more expensive. If it's a 4-year deal, you're buying two UFA years, which I believe is what the Leafs did on the Kadri and Riley deals.
Yeah.
So those deals were a little bit more expensive. I think if you're buying two UFA years, I think the deal becomes a bit too expensive for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I think a 3-year bridge sort of deal, I think, would be a decent compromise. If it's 3 years, it may be just under $4 million.
Okay. We could work with that.
Maybe something like that, just under 4, maybe 3.75 for 3 years.
We'll go 3.8 for 3 years. Just to be a little bit realistic.
See, because if it's anything more than that, I would say the cap hit to asset ratio that you're giving up is not good enough. You can sign someone in free agency for about the same cost that's going to be in and around um, just as good. Like even like the chat is saying, Mikhail Granlund. You can get Mikhail Granlund
That's
for about that much money and not give up any assets. So if
so.
it's any more expensive than that on his contract, it doesn't make sense.
But can we get both? Is the question.
Be really interesting. And we know that Sheldon Keefe really does covet having a right-handed center. He really wanted that. And when a guy like Riley Nash came in, I believe he's a right-handed center. That's a guy that Sheldon Keefe, I think, asked for. He asked for a third line center who can shoot right-handed. And I believe that Mikael Granlund is right-handed. Let me
No,
just
he's.
double
I
check
think
on
he's a
that.
left-handed shot.
Is he a left-handed shot?
Yeah, yeah, he is.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no, Granlund is left-handed shot. Now, I don't know what his projected contract is going to be, but I mean, he's probably going to get in the $4 million range, I would imagine.
But he's also interesting because he's one of those guys that I think would have a little bit extra value on if you're calling about him in free agency because he took a 1 year deal last year. Would he be willing to take another 1 year deal this year or even a 2 year deal? And that's where that gap becomes in free agents, where a guy like Zach Hyman, who wants a 6 or 7 year deal, is not affordable for the Leafs. But I would be willing to pay a little bit more for guys who are maybe not as good on a 1 or 2 year deal because it gives you that flexibility, right? You're not tied to a long-term investment on a player.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, but now I'm starting to look at this cap space. There's 5 million and there's still no backup goaltender.
The backup goaltending position is really interesting because when you ask or look at any of the rumors, the Leafs are interested or in on all of them.
Yeah. And
it's such a wide range, and I really don't know what they do. I think that that's a position because they have Campbell signed at $1.6 million. Again, I would not lean on him to play more than 40 or 50 games next season. I would want a 1A, 1B type tandem, would which is what the Leafs had when we had Reimer and Bernier. I would want something similar to that, which is
right.
better.
Yeah.
Which is better. um,
Yeah, guys, Joseph Woll is not even close to ready.
no, not even close. They don't have prospects at the goalie position, and that's a huge problem. But at the same time, I don't know. There's a lot of options that could make sense. If you want to pay a little bit more, you can get that tandem goalie. If you want to trade for one, maybe that's a position where you will look to make a trade there and you sign a forward in free agency instead of trading for a forward. See, like Allmark at $4 million, I don't think makes sense.
Yeah, then the Leafs literally are handicapped at the forward position.
Because what it is between the two of them, Allmark and Campbell, I don't think that there's that much of a difference between them in their skill or in their numbers from the last couple of seasons to justify having that expensive of a backup goalie. Because only one of them can start come playoff time, and then you have the other making all that money just sitting on the bench, chilling there, just keeping the face-off stats.
Yeah, Halak is an interesting one for me.
Jaro Halak, like I said in my video when I looked at every single goalie there, it depends on what type of person you are. That is the free agent goalie that you are going to gravitate towards. If you want all reliable, if you really, really liked Curtis McElhinney as the Maple Leafs' backup goalie, you're going to be interested in a guy like Jaro Halak.
Yeah,
for all the same reasons.
people are saying bring Freddy back. Now this is where it becomes interesting because what basically has been coming out is that Hyman was granted permission to talk to teams. Freddy Andersen was not. So the Leafs might think that Freddy is not going to get money on a longer term contract or money even on a 1 year deal. So they're
letting teams talk to Hyman right now, but they're not letting teams talk to Andersen right now.
Yeah, like but I think the Leafs are trying to convince Freddy that he's not going to get that money elsewhere. Like them not letting him talk obviously works in his favor because then they're worried. But at the same time, I don't know. Can you not explain to Freddy Andersen, let's run this back one more time at like $2 million? I wouldn't want, like, listen, I love Freddie, but I think that they need a different backup goaltender than him, which I can't believe I'm even saying that because Freddie was the starter literally for like the last 5 years. It's insane. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're doing at the goalie position. But now when I'm starting to look at this, I'm a little worried, man. This
In what
this
sense?
this team still doesn't have the depth that I want, and the cap space is not available to them. Like 5 million between another forward and another backup to me doesn't make this team that much better.
It's
Like,
tough. And for the one comment there, it's not that I don't want to spend money on another goalie. It's just that it's not economical. It's not economical to have one of them sitting on the bench when you need another forward. You need more in that lineup right now. Like I said, a lot of people, yeah, they're saying all those things. Yes, I agree with all of them, but at the same time, you have to deal with what the Leafs have right now. It's a compromise. They don't want to trade one of those core four guys. They don't want to trade Morgan Riley. Um, where's this cap space coming from?
yeah.
We're working with what the Leafs want to do, not what we think that. We're working with what they've said that they want to do, not what we want to do.
So somebody's saying, why the hell did they let Foligno and Bogosian walk? Okay, first of all, Bogosian apparently doesn't want to play in Canada because of the restrictions due to the pandemic. He doesn't want to play here anymore. So that's just what's been in the rumors. The other thing with Foligno is apparently he might want to play with his brother in Minnesota. So those two guys might just have preferences based off of family, which, I mean, I don't think that you can really argue against somebody who is making a move based off of their family. Um, that happens with every team. Like it.
No, I mean, Bogosian wasn't necessarily the greatest in the playoffs, but it was super, super unfortunate because before he got injured, he was going real hot for about 10 or 15 games. We were seeing a Zach Bogosian that would have seriously helped the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs. And then he got injured and he didn't come back the same. Like he was playing good enough to maybe take ice time away from Justin Hall in their top four before he got injured. He
Yeah.
was on that hot of a stretch. He got hurt and then didn't come back the same.
Yeah. That's the problem. I'd rather get a good goalie and take a chance with cheap wingers who can hopefully produce. Well, this is the thing. The Leafs are hoping that Robertson comes up this year and just finds that scoring touch that he's found in the OHL and in the AHL. But the NHL is a different beast, right? So I don't know why people keep saying to get rid of Nylander. Guys, like, if you watch the playoffs, like, the guy was the only one that showed up in the goal scoring department. Like, you can't just trade the guy that showed up. You guys are actively saying to trade the guy that showed up when nobody else did. I don't understand this logic. Why trade the guy that actually did something? Like, somebody please explain this to me.
See, and a lot of people are saying we have to sign a goalie because Campbell's a little bit more injury prone. I think the Leafs are okay with giving Michael Hutchison between 5 and 10 games next season. Whether you like that or not, it scares the crap out of me. But I think that they're okay with doing that. So if one of the goalies are injured, I think that they're trusting in their deeper depth in the organization.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think that they're comfortable doing that. He did have a 919 save percentage this past season, and he did have a shutout.
Oh boy. Okay, listen. I agree with that. Galchenyuk, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, if he wants to come back, I think he fit in really well with this group just instantly. He seemed to have instant chemistry with a guy like Nylander. He seemed to have instant chemistry on that top line. And for the amount of money that he's going to command, I would 100% take him back. But if you are going with a guy like Galchenyuk in the offseason, I think you need to leave a little bit of room to improve upon that at the trade deadline.
Well, yeah, so there you go. If you're acquiring two forwards, Galchenyuk's not getting paid more than $1 million, but I'm giving him 1.1. I don't see how he's going to get any more than that. He didn't play well enough to ask for some big contract. Um,
I
uh,
would switch. I would switch Mikheyev and Robertson in this lineup, just
oh,
before
I
people
wouldn't.
start yelling at us. You wouldn't? You
No,
want Nick Robertson playing on that more defensive line?
they're not going to be a defensive line, and I'll tell you why. The Toronto Maple Leafs went away from their philosophy of being a we're going to score the lights out and destroy you that way with three lines. The Leafs are going to find a way to do what Tampa did, hopefully. This is wishful thinking, and have guys that can go out there and just play with speed, constant pressure, and you're hoping to find that in your fourth line. You're going to get that from Mikheyev. You're going to get that from Brooks. And honestly, I'm okay with switching Spezza and Simmons in this lineup as well. Like,
You're okay with doing that? I mean, like you only. I don't think that the Leafs have a third or a fourth line. It's just the bottom six. Whatever role you want to designate to the players playing in the bottom six, is what it is. I don't think that there's necessarily a third and a fourth line.
now, mind you, you could also do this and go Nick Robertson playing starting with Tavares and Nylander and go with Galchenyuk with Kerfoot and Spezza.
That could be where if you have Robertson playing lower in your lineup, if he shows that he can be in the NHL and plays really well, you can reward him by moving him up there. And then you don't have to spend some of the money that you have access to at the deadline on a forward because you can just swap those two.
Well, the reason why I don't mind this forward group for now is because that 3.9 million, you're not going to spend all of that on a goaltender. Now, again, there's a lot of people in the chat talking about, oh, the Leafs need another defenseman. They need this. They can go get that at the deadline. They can acquire that at the deadline. And
It's been my philosophy the whole time.
I've been saying to you guys in many videos, go to Downtown Sports right now after the stream actually, and go watch his videos because usually towards the end of the videos he explains how the Leafs can acquire cap space throughout the season, and they can use that cap space like they did this year at the deadline and get teams to take 50% and then another 50%, and then just by the way that the money works, they're able to take on the remainder of that money. Listen, they can definitely do it. They did it this year with almost no cap space. They acquired multiple players. We've seen it happen, and they'll probably end up having a little bit of this close to the same amount of money to work with towards the deadline this year. So if you can get a backup in the $2 to $2.5 million range, you're leaving yourself a little bit of money. So, and keep in mind, we still have Engvall in the minors. If somebody doesn't work here, we could just bring Engvall up and trade the other player or throw them in the minors. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like when you're looking at cap space, obviously, if you're bringing a player in, you need to move a player off of your roster. So that gives you a little bit more access to cap space that way. And if you're looking at the way that it works, if you have 300 grand to work with at the beginning of the season, what you're saying there is that if there's a set amount of days in throughout the regular season, that 300 grand spread out over how many days there are in the regular season is how much more you're going to gain access to every day. It's 300 grand spread over about 180 days. It works out to about $3,000 or $4,000 more every time you're under the cap by that amount. And in this, we have Liljegren as a scratch here, but because he's on a two-way deal, you can send him down. So on days he's not playing, you can accumulate even more. And then salaries are prorated by the time the deadline comes around. You can get salary retained. You can get double salary retained. You can do a lot with a little at the trade deadline.
right. Yeah, no, that's something I completely agree with.
This is a 21-man roster if you're signing a backup goalie.
Right. So a lot of people are saying it right now. They're saying McCann is going to be there instead of Kerfoot. So let's just do a quick swap here, right?
That would be even better.
This lineup would end up being much better, in my opinion. Would you go with Galch at center?
No way.
So who would you have at center? Spezza?
I I think we would need to go out and get another center in this situation.
You think so?
Or you don't make the Conor Garland trade and you save those bullets for the trade deadline.
So you wouldn't go with Robertson, Spezza, Galchenyuk on that third line?
I think that Spez's days as a full-time centerman are not necessarily.
Yeah, but he could split duties with Galchenyuk.
You see, the thing is what Montreal fans will tell you is that he's very much not a center. He's very much not a center. They went through that for years. He's not a center.
I mean, this is Kirill Semyonov is going to play with the Leafs this year, third line center.
I want 2 or 3 guys in front of him.
Yeah, I'm not convinced either. I'm not gonna lie.
Casey Cizikas would be a decent option. I don't know how much he'd be looking for, but he's definitely a guy that I would look at. Another guy for a shutdown centerman would be really interested in if the Colorado Avalanche are distracted trying to sign Philip Grubauer and Gabriel Landeskog is Pierre-Edouard Bellemare.
I thought you were gonna say one Nazem Kadri. I love that guy. But listen, guys, we've said this. Both of us have said this before. We don't have like inside sources. We're not sitting here acting as if we know that these are guys that they're gonna go after. We're not also saying that this would be the best lineup. We are just brainstorming. We're using a lot of your guys' ideas as well. I mean, the lineup. This lineup is probably going to look nothing like what actually happens. Let's be honest here. The Leafs never are watching YouTube channels to build a team. They're doing. Thank God. Trade Nylander for a 4th round pick and a 7-foot defenseman that can't skate. That'll help the team. Boone Jenner.
At the same time here, if McCann is the guy staying, I think you go out and you get another centerman, and I don't think that you make that Garland trade.
Okay, so let's revert the Garland trade.
See, but the thing is that what do you want to do? Do you want to be more active in free agency, or do you want to be more active at the deadline?
I think the Leafs have to be active in free agency. Honestly,
see, I'm only more active in free agency if there is value deals out there, because if there isn't any value contracts, then I am saving that cap space and I am saving my bullets for the trade deadline when I can do what Tampa did, right? They traded 2 first-round picks and another guy that was drafted in the first round by them for Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow. 2 years of those guys. And they were on sweetheart contracts, and that's how they were able to kind of navigate around. So, it's not always the deadline. When you're at the deadline, I don't think that the deadline should be looking for a number 1 goalie, looking for a number 1 defenseman or a number 1 centerman. The deadline is more for filling out those complementary pieces. And if there are guys that are on that have 2 years left on their contracts that are signed for, decent amounts, I think you target those guys. If there isn't value in free agency.
So now with reverting that Conor Garland trade, they have $8.2 million to go out there and get another winger and a backup or a centerman, because now your left wing depth looks a bit better with McCann, Galchenyuk, Robertson, Mikheyev, and then you have Marner, Nylander, which obviously is good enough. Once you get that third line centerman, Simmons or Spezza moves over. So I feel like, okay, this is where I feel like Granlund.
This is with over $8 million and just needing that third line centerman and a backup goalie.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's why I'm saying this could make sense. Galchenyuk makes this team a lot easier to mess around with, because Galchenyuk might be the wild card for this team in the offseason, because if Galchenyuk can come in and play like he did in the playoffs, because he was good. That one mistake he had, of course, it had to lead to a friggin' goal, of course. Mm-hmm. But he was fantastic. Guys, he had as many points as Marner did in one last game in the playoffs. So, because I think he had 4 points, and Marner also had 4 points. And he played in one less game. Keep in mind, he also got rocked by Jeff Petrie and it should have been a suspension. If anybody even knows about that hit,
He
like,
got absolutely brained and nobody talked about
yeah,
it.
in overtime, there was no suspension, there was no call, nothing. People are saying Nick Bonino.
See, but the thing is, with guys like Blake Coleman, guys like Nick Foligno, or sorry, guys like who did we just say?
Boone Jenner, I don't know, Galchenyuk.
Boone Jenner, guys like Blake Coleman, guys like Nick Bonino. Sorry, Bonino and Foligno sound sort of similar.
Yeah.
But between those two guys, Coleman and Bonino, if they're not willing to sign 1 or 2 year deals, I'm not interested in them, because then you're paying an inflated cap for older players and you're not getting a whole ton of value there. I'd be more interested in acquiring players that are on 2 year deals at the deadline that have that cheaper cap hit that can help you next offseason and next year as well.
I mean, okay, but hear me out. Hear me out here. What happens if the Leafs, because in free agency, the Leafs have to, they have to get another center or winger. They have to spend a little bit of money. Why not, when it comes to the deadline, you make a decision on if Robertson's good enough to be there or Mikheyev's good enough to be there, and you're probably subtracting like 800K, or in Mikheyev's case, 1 point whatever, and then the rest gets buried, and that adds to your cap space. You know what I mean?
Right now with the roster that's on the screen, there's $8.2 million more to spend. So obviously you're spending some of it on a backup goalie. Like, can you spend $3 million on a backup goalie and $5 million on another forward here?
Okay.
Or do you spend 3 and 4 and you have $1 million extra to use as a bit of a cushion to be more active at the deadline?
Okay, but you can be active at the deadline, because you're gonna end like I said. You maybe one of these guys don't work out. And is Adam Brooks definitely making this team?
I think he is.
In my opinion, he could. People are saying Wenberg.
Wenberg, let's take a little bit more of a look here. I don't know. Florida's already done a little bit of work in re-signing some of their free agent players. He's not bad. He's not amazing or anything like that. 29 points in 56 games. He's young enough. He's got an okay shot. But again, I'm not sure if that's the guy.
Okay, so this guy, MC Foley 4, is saying, "Oh man, you guys are killing me," because he says we need to get Bozak and Phil Kessel. Like, okay.
No.
I don't know why, and again, I could be completely wrong here, but why is everybody trying to tell me that Bozak is some sort of shutdown centerman?
He's not. I mean, he can win faceoffs at this point. The one thing that I remember him for when he played on the Leafs was his speed, and that's not necessarily there anymore.
I remember Bozak being awful when towards the end defensively, because Connor Brown was like on a line with Bozak and Van Riemsdyk, and it was like the worst defensive line on the team.
Kadri is not like I see him coming up a lot. He's not coming back, but Bozak, I mean, I think the Leafs are kind of done with the 1 year, $750,000 veteran forward players. I think it's time to, really make a difference in the lineup with what they're doing. Bozak does have a Stanley Cup, though.
Bozak does have a Stanley Cup. So does Curtis McElhinney. And how much did he play? Anyways,
I think that Getzlav, I think a lot of people are going to be really mad about this. I think he ends up signing in Vegas on a really cheap deal.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's a centerman. Vegas needs some centermen. I can see him signing in Vegas on a really cheap deal, because I believe that was the only team that he was interested in waiving his no move clause to.
Okay.
At this year's deadline.
MC Foley says that's all they can afford is the 1 year $750K. We have over $8 million in cap space here. They could spend $5 million on a forward if they wanted to.
So, like, let's say you spent $3 million.
Okay, let's get the goaltender. Who's the goalie? Okay. Who's the goaltender?
I would be really interested in Peter Mrazek on a 1 year deal if you got that much cap space.
Okay, Mrazek is gonna be more than $3 million.
Might be well, if Drieger's getting, or Drieger, whatever, however you say it, I don't know. He's getting 3 years and $3.5 million. That does have term onto it, but I would be interested in just a 1 year deal, a 1 or 2 year deal,
Well,
even with a guy like Peter Mrazek.
I think you have to go a step below that tier, in my
A
opinion.
step below that tier. Okay, well, what's your guy?
Well, here's the thing. I think that there's a few options here. Number one, people hate me for this one, Jonathan Bernier. I think that's an option.
I think he just stays in Detroit.
He
He,
probably
he,
will.
he's got a really good thing going there. I think he just stays in Detroit.
We'll get to Ricard Raquel because that's the guy that I think the Leafs should make a trade for if they trade for anybody. Number two, James Reimer. You can get him under 2.5, in my opinion.
In Carolina over the last 2 seasons, he's made the saves that he should. He doesn't make any of the spectacular ones, but if you're thinking about a backup goalie, I think you just want someone who makes the saves that you expect him to, right?
Yeah. I mean, Yaroslav Halak is my other guy. Can you get him under $3 million?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. On a
So,
1 year deal.
so what do you offer Yaroslav Halak?
Well, I mean, if Yaroslav Halak is looking at Mike Smith, um, maybe it's a little bit less than whatever Mike Smith signs for.
So let's just say like $2.8 million then.
I don't think it's that much. I think that you can get Halak on a 1 year, $2 million deal.
Oof, I don't think so. Dude,
You
I
don't
think
think
he's
so?
going to
You
get
think it's a bit
paid.
more?
Yeah, I think he's going to get paid.
Well,
Because,
I mean, even a guy like Halak,
no,
just remembering his numbers over the last 2 seasons, he was decent, but nothing amazing. I think you're paying more if you're going for a guy like Halak. You're going for his consistency.
people are saying Reimer over Halak. So everybody's saying Reimer. Let's go Reimer then, I guess. I guess people think Reimer's the guy. I actually think it's a good option, to be honest with you. He was the guy I thought could work. Considering he was making more than he probably should have, I think that you can get him definitely for less than 3.4. Let's I for some reason I think his number's 2.5.
Sure, I would be okay with that if it's a 1 year deal.
Okay, somebody said, what the F? Halak isn't getting paid. Guys, you have to remember, Yaroslav Halak has been a very serviceable backup goaltender and at some points a starter for Boston. So there's some goalies that just have money attached to their names. It doesn't matter what their numbers look like. They get money attached to their names. There's always a few guys every year that you scratch your head and go, why did that guy get paid? Halak is going to be one of those guys, guaranteed.
I don't necessarily agree that he'll get paid.
No, I'm not talking like over $3 million. I'm
No.
saying it's going to be more than people are saying, like 1 or 1.5 or $2 million. I actually do believe it's over 2 million for Halak. Like you can't say Reimer and Halak are on the same level. I think Halak is the better goaltender, in my personal opinion.
I there I think in Carolina, Reimer played sort of a similar role when they had injuries there. He was a starting goalie for them for a little bit this past season when guys like Mrazek were injured and Nedeljkovic wasn't necessarily ready and playing. But at the same time, there is no one option when we're looking at this. There's so many of them.
Okay.
Big save Dave, I want nothing to do with.
No. Well, okay, so most of the chat is saying 2.2 for Reimer. So
2.25, that's
okay,
I mean,
we'll say 2.25. If that's what you guys think, then honestly, my prediction for Reimer was 2.5. But I don't know, maybe he wants to come back to Toronto. I mean, that's a possibility. I don't know.
I don't know. It would just be a little. It would be a little bit awkward, I think.
Okay.
Like if we're getting over that stigma that yeah, he played for Toronto in the past and I don't want him back. I think if we're just looking at his numbers, I don't think there's anything wrong with James Reimer.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're not getting him for 1 year though. I think if you're signing him, it's got to be for 2. Like I don't see how, like Reimer could just be like, yeah, the media sucks here. Like, give me an extra year so I actually feel like I'm protected here. Like, I literally, the media like tried to like come to my house when I was injured or whatever
I
that
don't.
was.
I think that the goalie market is so plentiful. I don't think a lot of these guys are getting multi-year deals. I don't think so. There's so many of
Uh,
them changing hands this year. Um,
dude, I don't know. I think there's a lot of goalies that aren't gonna get signed that people think are gonna get signed. Like, there's a few interesting names on here that like seem like just a given that they're gonna sign, but there's always, like, I'm telling you guys, there's every year there's these head scratchers that don't make any sense logically.
but I don't necessarily think that the Leafs have to be the team that goes in there and gets the head scratcher.
Okay,
So if you think that Reimer or Halak is the head scratcher, then I don't think that they're the guy.
well, 2.2 is not too much to me. I'm talking term.
See, a Darcy Kemper
Too
sort of
much.
thing, it's way too much money, and Arizona's not retaining half. But in this scenario, we have $8.2 million remaining, right?
Spend it on a forward.
See, what if you can, because I know that Arizona did trade away a guy like Aiden Hill, but I don't think that that stops them from trading a guy like Kemper. Because if you're looking at Kemper's contract, he makes $5.5 million in real money, real dollars this upcoming season, and they've already said that they would like to have an internal salary cap of $65 million, and their estimated salary expenditure for this upcoming season is $59 million, and they only have 3 defensemen signed. So I think that they're still looking to shed money. So I
Yeah,
think that a trade package of Conor, Garland, and Darcy Kemper is still very available, and I did an entire video on it.
dude,
I think that is still very available.
that's a lot of money, man.
It
That's
is, but it's there. That's all the cap space that we have left. I think Kemper takes up $4.5 million. You sign Conor Garland to about the deal that we had already, and I think that both teams benefit because Arizona gets free of Kemper's $5.5 million in salary, and they don't have to pay Conor Garland, and they get assets for those two players.
but okay. So would you not make them retain though on Kemper?
They're not going to do it. That's the whole point of the trade, is that they're not going to retain on him because they want to free up the money. They only have $65 million to work with apparently, and they've already spent 59 of it, and they only have 3 defensemen signed.
They're not gonna get Garland and Dvorak.
No, I
No,
would
no,
be
that's what
interested
somebody
in.
said in the
No,
comments.
no, no, yeah, I know, but I would be interested in one of those guys,
Yeah.
like
So
Garland or Dvorak and Kemper.
okay, let's ask the chat then, because honestly, in my opinion, I would like Garland and Kemper more than just going out and signing free agents and hoping they work. To be honest with you, so let's ask the chat. Okay, but Chuck, somebody's saying paying your backup more than your starter, not smart. So
That
okay, so
that's optics. It's optics. It doesn't matter.
okay, so then let's just find a way to find another Michael Hutchinson, and then put him at the
No,
backup position.
I honestly think we're on the right track here. With a
So
roster similar to what we have right now, and with the amount of cap space that we have, you can do that. And Arizona really wants to do something like that because they're not interested in paying Garland, and $5.5 million for Darcy Kemper, I think, is too much because he's already said that he's not re-signing with them. So why are you going to spend $5.5 million on a goalie that is not invested in you or not interested in you when you already have a budget?
yeah, I mean, listen, I agree too. I mean, I agree. I've said it in videos before. I made a video about this a while ago too. Like, if the Leafs can use a team like Arizona and say, "Listen, you guys need to make a move." I mean, I'm all for it. Like, because the Leafs do have pieces to get that trade done. They
Chuck, we
do.
already talked about the small-ish player or whatever like that. Toronto in their offense right now is not built to score off the rush. And that's what their downfall was against the Canadians, because their bigger, slower defensemen were able to defend their offense in the zone and take away passing lanes. That's why Mitch Marner looked like garbage the entire series, is because he could not make a pass. He had no room to make a pass. The Toronto Maple Leafs need more versatility in their offense. They need guys who can score off the rush. They need faster guys like that. Guys like Jared McCann, guys like Conor, Garland help that. So you saying no to a smaller forward, I don't think that you watched that Montreal series.
Yeah, there you
And I
go.
don't think they did not get out hit. They didn't. No, that wasn't the problem. They didn't score. They didn't score. So how can we score more against a team that defends similar to Montreal? How
Okay,
can we do that? So we need more off the rush.
and people are saying Montreal smacked teams with their defense. Like, the Leafs' blue line wasn't bad in that series.
They might have gotten out hit, but that was far and away not the problem.
Yeah, no,
They
getting
didn't
out hit
score.
wasn't the problem.
They did not score.
Yeah, no. Hits equals goals. I mean,
No.
hits doesn't equal goals all the time. Yeah, I don't know.
The power play is something that you're not relying upon in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, you can't rely on the power play. If
To beat Montreal. I said it every single game. Every single game I did a video. How did the Leafs win tonight? Well, okay, the Montreal Canadiens, they're going to clog the neutral zone. They're going to block up their own blue line. How do you beat that? Speed. You need more speed north and south. And the Toronto Maple Leafs right now play a very east-west game, and they rely on being able to set up in the other team's zone and get passes through.
Kessel scores off the rush. That's an interesting one still to me. I don't know. Listen, I wouldn't.
The big fart noise attached to Phil Kessel.
Listen, I don't know why, because, dude, Kessel still can score. I don't know.
The Leafs, I'm not saying that the Leafs are slow. I'm saying that they're slower than in past years. And the way that they play offense, they can get shut down by teams like Columbus, teams like Montreal, teams even like the New York Islanders, because they don't have that north-south game. They don't have it.
Okay, I have to address this because I don't know, is there over 200 people in here?
Okay.
Listen, I'm going to say this again, and I've said this in previous videos. Guys, the hot dog story about Phil Kessel is not true. That was a made-up story.
I did not think that's where you were going with that. I honestly thought that you were going to kind of stop and interrupt here to ask people to like the stream.
Oh,
there's 259 people in here, and Andrew's very close to 10,000 subscribers. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Like it up. But guys, that story was very fabricated. I hate to tell you guys this, but that story was not like that story was not like actually accurate. The guy that ran the hot dog stand that Phil always went to outside of the Rogers Center said that Phil was there maybe once a month when he went to a Blue Jays game. That story is not like correct. It's never been accurate. Steve Simmons is a piece of garbage. Okay, I'm just gonna put that out there.
So Andrew, is that 10K number actually true, or is YouTube lying?
No, it's at 10,006.
10,006. Okay, so we did it. So thank you to everyone in the stream right now.
Thank you. Yeah, the story does matter because when people are calling him fat, I mean, people get angry when people say stuff to them, and then there's thousands and thousands of people calling us two-time Stanley Cup champion fat.
I'm able to get over James Reimer coming back. I can see that being realistic. Phil Kessel is not coming back. He is not coming back, especially when you're looking at the real dollars involved, because it's not necessarily. I guess the real dollars. Yeah, he makes $6 million in real money. Yeah, that would be a contract that Arizona would be looking to move, but I don't think it really makes sense. I don't think it really makes sense.
Kucherov isn't even a fit looking dude, and the guy's basically MVP talent. Yeah, I mean, that's true as well.
Or even a guy like Pat Maroon, like that guy has the best dad bod in the NHL. Like he is big and he uses his size to his advantage. That guy has a full on dad bod, like mowing the lawn at like 11, 12 p.m. with a beer in his hand. That's what he looks like.
All right, let's look at this. Yo, what the heck? Patrick Kudla.
What's going on there?
I played hockey with that guy. Bro, that's hilarious. I played a few games with this kid. I didn't even know that he was on their roster. That's hilarious.
It's the same age as you, right? It was your birthday the other day. Stream, can we get a happy belated birthday for Andrew Piluk here? And can we like up a little bit?
Yeah, my birthday was on July 12th.
July the
Um,
12th, so just a week ago. Can we get a happy belated birthday for the guy here?
um, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, but listen, let's look at this trade. Darcy Kemper and Conor Garland. All right, what the hell do you offer for both of these players?
So I don't think that the offer changes much from what we were doing before, because I think that the value in taking Darcy Kemper's $5.5 million. Remember, Darcy Kemper, not last season, but the 3 seasons prior to last year, was one of the best goalies in the NHL. Go ahead and go look at the numbers. One of the best goalies in the NHL. He was definitely top 10, maybe even breaking into that top 5 category just by his numbers those 3 seasons. But he was injured. But he was also injured during that time, and he was injured quite a bit last year, and the numbers were just okay.
Yeah,
This is not a player that the Coyotes are expecting a first round pick for, which is what they were expecting last offseason. I think that taking on the money, the $5.5 million in real salary, and taking on a guy in Garland who they don't want to pay, I think that that has value to the trade. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get those two guys for nothing. I think you still have to pay. I think that is still two decent prospects and maybe even a draft pick on top of it.
oh
But
yeah,
I
I'm
would be interested in that.
I'm still putting a second round pick in there. Honestly, I still think that the value's there. Also, somebody said it was my 20th birthday. That is fake news. I turned 25.
Andrew's an old man.
I
He's getting
turned
there. It's a
25 years
quarter of
old.
a century old.
Okay, yeah. Let's not go any further. Um, a second round pick. What are we going? Are we going this? Not this upcoming draft.
No.
I think it's the
Well,
next
maybe.
year.
Well, maybe.
Oh, dude, the Leafs are not gonna go 4 rounds without a pick.
Okay, so next year.
I just don't see that. If and especially, I don't know. Now, I don't think Amirov is the guy in this trade.
No, maybe it's a guy like, see, like I was saying earlier, the Leafs have a lot of prospects that are good. They're just not names. If you look at them and you look at their stats and you compare them to their peers and what they've been able to accomplish, um, they're great players and they're
Yeah,
great prospects that are going to be something at the NHL level. But they don't necessarily have the name attached to them. A guy like Abramov, a guy like Roni Hirvonen, a guy like Topi Naimela, a guy like Mikko Kokkonen. Um, those are 4 solid prospects. Even a guy like Nick Abruzze, Philip Hallander before he was dealt, another really solid name. The Leafs have a lot of those guys. They have a lot of those guys where they're not necessarily going to be on your first and second line. They're not necessarily maybe going to be in your top 4 on defense, but they are solid NHL players. They will be solid NHL players. Okay, Mike, Jaden Schwartz is an interesting name there because he's got a little bit of an injury history. You might be able to get him on a 2 or 3 year deal, maybe even a 1 year deal if you're looking to overpay there. That's a name that I would be interested in. It's a name I would be interested in, but it would have to make sense value wise. Because if it doesn't, if he's just looking for 4 or 5 years and $4 or $5 million, I look to acquire a player similar or maybe even a little bit lesser at the deadline
yeah.
who has a better contract.
So okay, Hollowell's not the guy that I think is gonna be in that trade. I'm just saying because we'd have to create a player and whatnot. Um, let's just assume that this is like Topi Namela, right? So
Mm-hmm.
are you okay with Abramov, Namela in a second, or do you think that there's more to that?
That is a steep trade, but
That's not
Connor
steep to
Garland.
me.
Connor Garland is guy. Well, it is. It's a lot of value, but when you're looking at the guys on the other side of it, I like that. I like that.
So let's just hypothetically submit this. Okay?
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
let's sign him, which
If it's not enough, it's not enough. Like we said, like that second prospect in there's more of a placeholder. If it takes a guy like Amirov, maybe you might be better looking at a value free agent. Maybe you might be better off looking at a value free agent. But you are getting the goalie. You are getting a young forward who has some speed. Um, a guy like Michael Bunting would be interested. He would be interesting, but again, I don't really know where he plays. I think he plays on more of a bottom six scoring role, and I think the Leafs have a lot of those guys already.
So in this case, are you moving McCann to the third line? Because I don't want to do that.
Yes, I think
No.
so. I think so. Well, you can't let Spezza play on the third line center
Okay,
position
but
like
that's
that.
that's the guy that you upgrade. Okay, we're in negative cap space here
How much?
by 19 grand.
Oh my God. 19 grand. Okay, Conor Garland signs for $3.756 million, and we call it a day.
Oh boy. Um so yeah, this is why this trade wouldn't work. At a $3.8 million in terms of his cap. Now,
You get
Galchenyuk,
really funny with that cap hit number. Like Duncan Keith is like 5.53245 decimal point, this, that, the other thing.
we can pretend, let's just pretend Galchenyuk only signed for $1 million.
Sure.
Yeah, and that also, you could also move Liljegren down because he's a scratch. So
we also have an extra player here. And they don't need, I see a lot of people in my comment section, don't you need 22 or 23 guys on a roster? No. You can get it with the Toronto Marlies being so close in location. You can get away with just having 20, which is a lot of the times what they did this year, which is just enough, or just having one extra guy. But on days where the Leafs are playing at home, there's really no reason to carry extra players, especially when you can send one of them down on a paper transaction, so he can still be at the game or traveling with you.
okay, somebody said, do we vape? No, we don't.
We are not about
We
that
don't.
life.
We do not do that stuff. Okay, so does this lineup look good? Like, I think it's better.
I think at this point you move Galchenyuk up and you move McCann to the third line.
I don't know if I like that.
You can't have Spezza playing full time there, and they need a bit of a shutdown defensive line. They need a bit of it.
So Robertson's on the fourth line.
I see, but that's the thing. I don't like calling it the third and the fourth line because it's whatever you need them to do.
That third line is trash. I'm sorry. That third line is garbage.
See, but maybe you look to upgrade that third line at the deadline.
I don't know, man. I was confident and now I'm not. I like Galchenyuk better on the like I would rather do this.
I don't think Spezza is playing center full time next season. A lot of people wanted him to play more, but he was a friggin' beast he was a beast in the amount of ice time and in the role that they had him playing in. If you change that, maybe you mess that up.
I don't know. I like Galchenyuk on that third line better.
You like Galchenyuk on that third line better?
I mean, because I don't want Robertson on the hypothetical fourth line. Like
that fourth line can feast on offensive zone starts.
Yeah, like, that is true. That is true.
Start them every shift. You can just give them all those offensive zone starts that the top two lines are maybe too tired to get.
Yeah, but see, I like what somebody in the chat just said. Now, what about that third line? Woo! Give me that. Give me Robertson, McCann, and Spezza. Oh boy! Give me that.
Okay.
Give me that, and then let Mikheyev, Brooks, and Simmons go to town.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. The lineup, again, and what I've said in all my videos, you are not building the lineup that wins you the Stanley Cup on opening night.
Okay, I like this team.
You're not doing that, and you can't. And the Leafs can't. The other teams may be in that position, to build their final roster in the offseason. The Leafs are not one of those teams. They need to take advantage of the fact that you can use very little cap space to acquire good players at the deadline. They need to take advantage of that. So the team that you're looking at on the screen right now, I think makes the playoffs. I don't think it really does anything in the playoffs. But again, if you leave a little bit of cap space, you can do a lot with it. Even $400 or $500 worth of cap space, you can acquire maybe $3 or $4 million at the deadline if you're getting a double salary retention on those players.
Yeah, and hear me out. I like Liljegren more than I like Dermott.
I do
People
too.
hate me for that,
I
but
I do too. I do too, man. Travis Dermott had the most disappointing season that I think a Toronto Maple Leafs has had, like an individual player, in a very long time.
damn, I like this team. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this team.
Especially because you let Liljegren and Sandin play on the same pair together. Maybe you shelter them a little bit, but Liljegren in the American Hockey League killed penalties a lot.
Yeah,
A
he played in a
lot.
lot of different situations.
So you're looking at a guy who's stepping into the lineup who can play on the penalty kill. And Rasmus Sandin killed penalties at the minor league level, but he played on the power play a lot. So maybe you're sheltering them at 5-on-5. You're getting them more of that ice time on special teams.
Like, in my opinion, I would have given that 1.5 to Bogosian and then and traded Dermott or whatever, or just let him go. Like, I would have given Bogosian 1.2 million instead of Dermott.
Hot take. Do you think if Dermott is placed on waivers that a team claims him?
No. Oh, yes.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, honestly, I think
that's
a team...
$1.5 million for the seventh defenseman last season for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
But he's only, what is he, 24?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
What is he, 24?
See, Ottawa claimed Victor Mete, but how much money was he making? He was not making $1.5 million.
Okay, but Travis Dermott on a cheap deal for a team for 2 years, who's a young defenseman that some teams might believe has...
If he gets claimed on waivers, that is totally the Toronto Maple Leaf effect, and that is totally because his name has been out there a lot in articles and talked about a lot. That is not because of his play.
Nah, honestly,
that is not because of his play.
That is true.
Not skill-wise.
That is true. I think he gets claimed just based off of how cheap he is and the fact that he still has upside to some people.
Like when Mete was claimed, he was making $735,000.
Yeah, but the thing is I don't know.
$1.5 million is a lot for a waiver claim.
Okay, what would Seattle not do that?
I don't know. I don't. He has no trade value at
Dude, all. Hackstall, you're not telling me that Hackstall wouldn't take Dermott.
Dermott is not a right-handed defenseman. I don't know, man. He was. Everyone wants to say that the Leafs' defense was not good. So now, all of a sudden, everyone in the league and their mother is claiming their seventh defenseman last year.
Okay, wait, hold on. Somebody said this team is the same shit as last year, and then somebody said this team sucks. Okay, so let's say this: is Conor, Garland, and Zach Hyman similar players? No, but is Conor Garland a good hockey player? Yes. Yeah. Is Galchenyuk of a full season of maybe what he did in the playoffs good enough? Yes. Is Jared McCann gonna put up more points than Pierre Engvall? 100%. Is Nick Robertson a better player than Pierre Engvall? 100%. Like, these are upgrades on some of the guys that we had before. Like, we're not playing Joe Thornton in the lineup. You're playing Nick Robertson. Like, I'm sorry.
Just to put the final point on my Dermott thing, I said that was a hot take. So maybe it's not true. Eh?
Yeah, and I mean, like some Austin said, a healthy Simmons might be better than a banged up Simmons. We've seen that already.
Mm-hmm. See, but the way that a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning played really tough, right? They were a really tough team. They were also, if $10 million over the salary cap, if you give the Leafs $90 million to work with, yeah, we can go out and acquire a bunch of grit and stuff like that as well. The Lightning without that $10 million are just as soft as the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just as soft. Maybe their star players show up, but they're just as soft.
Holy hell. Somebody said Blue Jays sucks. They're down 6-0 in the first inning.
Man, they won 10-0 and 5-0 yesterday.
Yeah, but Stripling's pitching. That's the problem. Okay. It is already 7:30, and I said I was going to get off of stream at 7. So, it's not 7, it's 7:30. So, thank you guys for stopping by. Make sure to go and subscribe to Downtown Sports. You guys know, just look it up, type it in on YouTube, Downtown Sports. And if you can't find it there, go to my channel, because I've recommended him on my channel as well. And you have to subscribe, because if you don't, somehow in the expansion draft, the Seattle Kraken will take Austin Matthews. So if you don't subscribe to Downtown Sports, they're going to take Matthews. So go subscribe. I don't know how that works, but that's just what I heard from NHL hockey user on Twitter 5472. So just make sure to go subscribe to him. I was going to say stream. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, again, thank you to everybody for watching. Even if you guys don't agree with us, we're not insiders. We're just YouTubers.
And it's also, it's not like we don't want the team to be tougher. It's just how do you do it with the amount of cap space that they have? And they don't want to make those moves.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're disagreeing with you on that front, or we don't think that the team needs to be tougher. It's just how.
Yeah, guys,
it's difficult.
Guys like I don't know, like Gallagher or Marchand, like these guys don't grow on trees. Like toughness and scoring doesn't grow on trees, and unfortunately the Leafs just don't have it, and it's not hard to get. Like, sure, you could get Tkachuk, but how much does that, how much? Anyways, that's another discussion. But thank you guys for coming in. Again, I appreciate the help. Downtown Sports, make sure to go subscribe to him. And yeah, thanks for 10K, and bunch of videos from us coming this week. It's oh my god, my buddy Pete just said Russ Stripling just gave up a homer. Anyways, all right, thank you guys for watching. See you later.
Take care, everyone.